Good day, students. So today is our last presentation on science and technology teaching in the foundation phase for LSK 3701. I am your lecturer, Mrs. A. Carrim, and you can email me on ecarrier1@unisa.ac.za. Today is all about learning unit 6, which is the planning for technology, teaching and assessment. So on completion of this learning unit, you should be able to identify and interpret technological processes, process skills, in design activities of the technological problem solving approach, as well as cite appropriate examples. Remember, that's how you show that you apply your knowledge to demonstrate an understanding of concepts and process skills relating to technology. You should be able to analyze and interpret the technological problem solving teaching approach and the integration of mathematics, language, and creativity as a teaching approach. You also need to identify suitable contexts for the application of the technological problem solving approach and the integration of mathematics, language, and creativity approach, as well as compile research reports in which you demonstrate the ability to design your own practice based on the technological problem solving approach and the integration of mathematics, language, and creativity. You also need to be able to develop theme plans according to the technological problem solving approach and the integration again of mathematics, language, and creativity. This is where you apply your understanding of the assessment of technology education in the foundation phase. So remember, in the previous learning units, you were introduced to information technology and how it can be used in teaching and learning. The purpose of this learning unit is to enable you as a student teacher, to reflect on the different design process skills and how you can develop plans and formulate strategies for teaching these skills to foundation phase learners, and also analyzing teaching plans and strategies in respect of their suitability in promoting the development of design process skills among foundation phase learners. So the design process and its problem-solving nature, where you think of creative ways of sorting this out. We're discussing Learning Unit 4, and Learning Unit 5 basically describe the nature of teaching with computers and other technological devices. And in this learning unit, the theoretical side of technology education is applied to actual teaching, specifically to the development of learner activities and assessments that focus on information gathering skills, problem solving skills, and creativity. So there are considerations that you need to make for planning design activities. And basically, I also created a few questions. What is a design process central to? And what considerations should be made for a design activity based on a topic? There's always considerations that you need to consider and use examples to show your own understanding. It's very important that even when you're applying your content in an exam or assignment, that you can relate to possible examples within the context of the question and use an appropriate topic in science and technology following the design stages and giving learner activities per stage, and be able to identify habits of body and habits of mind that can be identified at each stage. So it's very important that you understand whatever we've been through until this point, so that you can apply your knowledge. So the design process is obviously central to the development of creativity, problem-solving skills, and information gathering skills. So if you look at this diagram that I've added to this presentation, it's basically the learners, they basically, as they follow the design process, the learners develop creativity, they develop these problem solving skills and information gathering skills. This is what we want the design process to bring out in our learners. So in this section, we will describe how design activities provide the means for learning about big ideas and developing habits of body and mind. And this is where the curriculum topics are set out alongside possible big ideas, and examples are given, of the design process activities for young learners. So the table shows, there's a table on page 131 on my side, table 6.1, where it shows, the content areas for technology education, in terms of the structures, processing systems, and control, know the habits of body or mind. So we consider different examples. This study guide, currently has an example of transport. So it basically shows the knowledge trends of technology and the habits of body and mind, how they develop through this design process. So it's very important that you're able to use tables such as these, to develop your ideas and to make considerations while you incorporating a theme plan. So remember when young learners, are trying to learn about how to, for instance, how does something move, in terms of transport, and this is where we have to look at what are we talking, what is the science trend that we're talking about? It would be energy and change. The technology would be systems and control, and then the big ideas would be cause and effect. And an example of this could be, you could get your students to design and make boats that can move or float on water. And then you can also think, why do you think the topic transport can be described as one in which learners will develop these intuitive ideas about how things move? So we want to get them to understand many things through this one lesson. So you also have to think about how the topic transport is connected to the science strain, energy and change, how the topic transport is connected to technology strain, within the systems and control. You have to have an understanding of all of this to be able to, to apply your knowledge. And what do you think a learner activity such as designing and making a sailboat could develop? How could they develop learners' understanding of cause and effect? So remember when there is movement, energy must be available basically. And the hand that pushes a toy car, if we, instance, we look at pushing of a toy car, which transfers energy from the person's body to the toy car. And we can think of wind energy, this causes a sailboat to move. So the topic transport is therefore linked to energy and change. So this is how we explain to our students, and how we can understand how to apply this science trends. And also, when we talk about the technology, look at it, machines and machine like cars and boats, they have mechanisms, such as wheels and pulleys. So, does all form part of the mechanical systems, and therefore, cars and boats are related to systems and control. So, this is how you have to create logic within your thinking. And when you're thinking about the intuitive idea, remember, if young learners see how toy sailboats move in the wind, they experience how things move, and I see that force must be applied. So basically, by a hand that pushes a toy car or wind that blows, a toy sailboat. So without this push or pull, there would be no movement. So young learners develop this concept of movement, namely that an object moves when a force is applied to it, and when they play with their toy cars very early, if they're given the opportunity to play with cars, they know it is known as intuitive knowledge. So this is when you might see an assessment or assignment that I asked, take this topic and give the intuitive idea, give the science trend, give the technology, give the big idea. All of that is very important that you're able to apply your knowledge. Can I pause there for a little bit? Okay, so let's go to developing a theme using the design process activities. So you need to consider a technological problem in the foundation phase and develop a theme using a design process activity. And you also need to consider an investigation activity for a theme plan for designing and building a model in the foundation phase. So remember how we spoke about this table, in terms of intuitive ideas, science, technology strands. That is very important for you to develop this theme. So you think of all of this, and that's when you show a better application and a better understanding on how to create the design activity so that our students get the most out of the lesson. There's many There's many, I think there's a lot of tables in your study guide that gives you their examples, but obviously we can't go into it in detail in this presentation, but it is provided for you in your study guide so that you have examples to refer to that make you understand the application of such themes. And also you previously learned that, you learned about basically theme planning, in terms of lessons. You should be able to define each of the habits of mind of good solvers, and to state why you think one of those habits is developed in an activity. We will only describe the habit of mind as of a visualizer. So the habit is evident in drawing of a design. In case of the sailboat boat activity, learners will have investigated different sail systems, and this is how you proceed to design. They can proceed to design their own sailboats by drawing them. They expected to be able to visualize the sails. They will draw them on paper. So design drawings also require creativity, because even if one has background knowledge, for example, sails, each problem has its own constraints that must be worked with. So these constraints will require learners to think of new ways of doing the activity. So during all stages of the design process, learners use knowledge, to basically describe the learning, such as writing short sentences, describing their drawings, and talking with their teammates when making their boat. So it's such a good activity to get our students into, going through the process, the design process activities, because they're given the opportunity to make all of these learning developments, so they can actually end up building models of real products. This is how the concept of measurement should be developed when learners make these measurements while they're making the model. So we putting in, like I said, language, mathematics, and creativity, which makes the lesson so much more, so much more broader and exciting for the learner. So the design process activities really are something that you need to understand and be able to apply, not only in this module, but in your classroom as you go on to your career. So when you're developing your own theme plans of design process activities, you need to use, a table to show you could simplify your focus. So this is how you can simplify your focus on a specific topic and create learning activities using this design process. So you consider what type of skills. We talked about the process skills earlier in previous learning units, and how they develop in the making stage, and how you can integrate visual, mathematical, scientific, and technological skills in the making stage. So let's look at uh, how you could develop these theme plans. So let's think about design of a doghouse. If you are developing a learner activity about how animals grow and how they change and how we should care for our pets by feeding them and giving them clean water, the learners may say that pets need to be kept warm. They need to be kept clean and dry. So a problem statement could be made about the need to build a house, for a pet dog, and how you will have to keep the pet dry, and warm. And remember to start the teaching of the theme by finding out from the learners how many of them have pets at home. You may want to keep a pet such as a hamster for the time you're dealing with that topic of caring about pets, since many learners have not experienced that, where they can care for pets. Not all parents allow it in their homes, or maybe it wasn't an experience they had as yet. So you can refer back to the beginning knowledge topics in the CAPS document, life skills or foundation phase, and you can basically see the science trends and the different topics that are expected to be learned in foundation phase, and make up these considerations for design activities. And this is how you can create your lessons already, basically for foundation phase level, whatever grade you're currently doing. So now, if you look at this, how animals grow and change throughout their lifetime is one of the fundamental big ideas of biology. The big ideas of biology are found in the knowledge strain life and living. So children will experience growth and change within their own bodies, and they will notice it in their pets. So this is how you realize that this is the science trend life and living. So learners also see that there are relationship between people. For example, as learners rely on their parents and caregivers to feed them and to keep them safe. And then if you look at interdependence, on the one hand, children rely on their caregivers for guidance and love, and the other end, the caregivers, need help around the house. So the same applies to humans and their pet dogs. Dogs can protect us and be our friends, and they can be dependent on us for food and shelter. That is why a design and build activity for a model of a doghouse will lead to an understanding of the big idea, basically regarding relationships and in the interdependence. So you see how important it is that we understand these big ideas and we're able to apply it within our theme plans. So let us consider a theme plan for learner activities for a design and construction of a model of a doghouse. So this is basically a topic here, how animals grow and change. And then when you come to your intuitive idea, how do I fit? Science trend would be life and loving, and technology trend is structures, because basically when you're building a doghouse, it would mean that you have to create a structure. And a big ideas from the social science would be relationship and interdependence, place, cause, and effect. An example of a design and make activity would be designing and making a model house for a dog. So if you're given a table as such, and you given the topic perhaps, and asked to give the intuitive idea, that science trend, the technology trend, what big idea could this topic, be about, or the example, and give a possible example. So you need to basically apply your knowledge. Now it's basically everything we've learned in previous units applied in context within the technology education as well. So basically, if you can there are many ideas on investigations for a specific theme. So the best way to choose what is needed, to what knowledge is needed to design and make it, learners will basically have to design and build a model of a doghouse and make sure that the dog must be kept warm and dry in the house. So this is where they'll think of the materials, in terms of structure. So learners will build a model maybe with cardboard, and they can still investigate the different material for different properties. Obviously, in foundation phase, you have to do it at their level and make it more understandable for them. So just consider this when you thinking of your theme plan and creating lessons. A doghouse is basically a structure that will have a specific shape. We all know how a doghouse is usually structured, so we want them to think in a logical manner. So one of the constraints the teacher could impose is that the learners must use as few materials as possible. What shape is the best for using as little material as possible and keeping the dog dry and warm. So this is how we can get them to be creative and only use specific materials. And obviously, in the foundation phase, we don't want to expect have so much expectations from them, because they quite little, and they need basic materials that are easy to use and that they can work with. So learners could find information, in books, websites, or they obviously this would give a lot of work to parents. So let's consider this as well. And teachers should encourage the learning of science through doing. So doing in the classroom, learners should not simply learn facts without understanding them and how to apply them. So the theme plan for building a doghouse, this is where we will teach him about 3D shapes also. And learners can also develop an understanding of shapes in their environment, and what is the best shape for a doghouse. Should a doghouse be like the houses of like people live in? Do all people live in same type of houses? This is where we can draw up questions like this. So they should consider different houses, such as houses built, think of floods, deep valleys. We get them thinking on a broader side, and we get them to ask questions and make meaningful decisions when building this model. Okay, and what's important in the teaching of science and technology is assessing students. We need to encourage our learners to represent the ideas for solving a given problem, and represent their understanding, whether it be the creative side, through language, to mathematical concepts. So we should encourage learners to question their own ideas about a solution to a problem, So it's very important that we consider the assessment after teaching this. So basically, the question that I've asked you to consider is identify and describe what steps need to be followed in the making stage of a design process. Develop a theme plan that includes assessment using the template of an assessment plan for technology education, which includes the design stage, the learner activities, and the concept skills for assessment. And it's very important to create a checklist for assessment for the making stage of a design process. Create this checklist where we can make sure that students selected the correct materials. Did they select the correct tools? Did they measure things accurately using formal or informal units? Did they mark the cutting lines? Obviously at foundation phase level, we need to teach them about cutting and pasting, and obviously to cut safely, and also how to join things together using suitable joining method. We need to show them all those steps so that they can do it in you know uh, after the learning phase. They can do it in an assessment, and then complete the product by adding details. Sometimes we want them to use the creative side and complete it in a neat, suitable way, and complete the product by neatening all the rough edges. So this would be maybe a checklist for a puppet, or whatever the case may be, whether it be the structure of the doghouse. There should be a criteria that the learner was able to do. So when a theme plan based on design and making and problem solving activities is developed, the second last stage is known as a evaluation stage. This stage gives learners a chance to evaluate their products through self or peer assessment, and the teacher leads um, the process of evaluation by discussing what could be considered a successful product or not. The success of a product will depend on the specifications agreed upon during the design process. So, in some cases, such as when a learner builds a car or a bridge, a teacher can basically hold a competition of sorts, allowing for the informal evaluation of the products made by learners. And in the case of cars, the competition could be a race in which in the case of a bridge, the competition could be to see which bridge can carry the most weight before it breaks. The winning product is one that goes fastest or furthest or is the strongest. So this is how students can learn from each other. In our example of a puppet, we show about the insect metamorphosis. Evaluation could be focused on puppet shows. We could create puppet shows where our students can, show their language skills in terms of drama, and this would create a very suitable classroom environment for foundation phase, where they're learning and they engaged in the lesson, and and also at the end of the day, we giving them the confidence to create such a communication based things in terms of language. Remember, we want to develop the language, the mathematics, and creative sides of our students, and all of this forms a good integration of the three. So basically, each of these stages give a teacher a chance to assess learners' understanding at the same time. So by now you've understood that you need to develop a theme plan based on the design process and include assessments using templates, whether it be a checklist or, and if you can use, the examples from the study guide and create your own checklist according to the topics you're currently doing, you bear in mind that you are on a developmental journey. You are undergoing metamorphosis yourself, so to speak. So your first attempt may not be as complex as a plan we develop. We recommend that you start by developing one activity for each stage and then develop more activities later on. So from the start, you should know what skills and concepts you want to assess, mostly informally. If you use these examples in the study guide, addendum 6.6, to plan activities from the start, you will only need to develop one plan for each team. So which will include an assessment. You should therefore use the template given in the study guide, and this is how you will be able to start applying your knowledge. It's not enough to just listen to this presentation and read the study guide without actually focusing and noticing that you taking in all the information that you've been given through these presentations and through your study guide and actually putting it into play. Making the making stage of the design process, maybe in terms of making a puppet would mean that they need to collect materials and tools. Depending on the puppet they're going to make, they have to think of the what type of material. Do they need buttons for the eyes? They'll obviously maybe need to sew something on. Obviously with a little assistance, and measure and mark, to make sure that the eyes are aligned. So it's very important that we teach them to measure and mark and to cut alongside the lines so that the puppet, is neat and, is something they can use in a drama or whatever the case may be. And also that when they join things together, by sewing or gluing them together, we need to show them exactly how to join something together, and finishing it off, completing it by making sure they add all the details that are important that for the puppet to have, or the structure, or whatever the case may be. And also, can they move the puppet? Can they, does it basically, when they evaluating, does it basically do what they intended it to do? So it's very important that we consider all of this, and go through each stage very clearly with our students, especially with foundation phase learners who need that guidance and support through the process. Okay, so we've reached our end of this presentation. It's basically just a brief understanding of what you need to, consider when assessing technology. So I do believe that you have, understood to some level what is expected of you in this module, and obviously you will have to go into more detail and apply your knowledge through activities and through reflective activities and the self-evaluation questions in your study guide. And remember, in this last learning unit of the module, you were shown how to develop learner activities and organize a theme plan that follows the stages of the design process. So when learners do these plan activities in a logical order, they develop problem-solving skills, which promotes development of technological literacy, knowledge about a problem and skills to they able to solve the problem. And this is where we've integrated science, mathematics, language, and art. And the concepts and skills that will be assessed are planned. When learner activities are planned, remember, assessment must be carried out for learning, either by the teacher or the learners themselves. The results of assessment basically allows teachers to think of alternative strategies to teach skills or concepts. So good luck with going through the learning units, and I will be supporting you all the way on our module site. And please do contact me for any further support. I am here for you as your lecturer, and I wish you all the success in this module. Thank you.